Sky on Fire is the newest movie from Ringo Lam, who you know his movies Full Contact, and he's one of Hong Kong's biggest film directors. He's kind of up there. He had his heyday in the '80s, up there with John Woo, and some of the rest, and Tsui Hark, and some of the rest of the guys, as far as churning out some really good action movies. Sky on Fire stars Daniel Wu as Timbu, a security guard who 5 years earlier had been the security guard of a scientific research facility that went up in flames. Fast forward to 5 years later, he is the security guard of a place called the Sky Tower, which is this gigantic pharmaceutical company that's basically perfecting stem cell research. And they've created a drug that's purportedly to cure any cancer. Now he's here, and this guy and this girl arrive, who basically the woman needs treatment. This gentleman and his sister, his name is Jay, and his sister Jane need help. She needs to get that medicine immediately. And so they decide to go to Sky One and try to get their drugs they need at the Sky Tower. When they get there, they get embroiled in a robbery in progress of those stem cells and the research with it. And they actually participate in the heist, which is a really odd thing for two people who just showed up to suddenly just decide to do, oh, there's somebody stealing something. Ooh, I should probably help them, even though I don't know who they are and I don't know what their true purposes are, and they might kill us later. But they do help them. And basically Danny Wu's character has to track down the stem cells and get them back, but it turns out the reasons the company is using those stem cells may not be to cure the cancers of the world, and maybe for something far more nefarious. And he has to make a decision on whether he's going to help the good guys, the brother and sister, or help the good guys, the Sky Tower, who may also be good guys, but maybe not, but possibly. And in a movie that really is convoluted from beginning to end. I mean, it actually gets worse. There are characters here and moments where you have no idea what the allegiances are. I couldn't understand who is aligned with who, and who ultimately, and after a while you can get a sense of who the good guys are, but then Danny Wu's character kind of sits in the middle, and he's kind of wanting to do his job, but he may be helping the bad guys, but he's trying to capture the good guys and give everything back to the bad guys, but he kind of knows they're bad, but he's not really sure because one of them is a scientist who might be a good guy. And so the whole thing just becomes this headache of trying to figure out who's good and who's bad. And you really just find that, you just kind of follow Daniel Wu's character as he goes along, and you're hoping that he is actually a good guy, but you don't really know for sure about his motivations to help either side. Even though you don't get a sense of his past, you would think he would easily follow the good guys, the purported good guys. But then moments he doesn't in the very beginning of the film, and it seems like it's way into the film before he decides that, oh, I'm going to settle for this group, and goes along with it. There are some cool parts to the film. Not a lot of martial arts, but there's one great scene where he's fighting this guy and he uses the guy's head to cock a pistol. That was a cool moment, admittedly. That moment actually rocked. But as for the rest of the film, the action scenes are also kind of being held back. They should be over the top, they should be fun, but they're not. They're trying to be more realistic, and in doing so, they come off a little on the dull side. But there's a lot of action pieces, but they're just kind of, but once again, they're just kind of sitting there, and they're not really moving, and they're not really moving the plot along from point A to point B. It's just like, hey, we've got to throw in this gratuitous gunfight. You know, we've got to have a quick martial art fight that's not very good, and then we've got to get to the next gunfight, because everything seems to be getting to the next place where a gun's going to get pulled out, and then when the guns do go off, they're very unimpressive, and then the movie ends in a giant set piece in the Sky Tower that you kind of look, you kind of go, okay, I'm with it, and then boom. There's a moment that hits where it's like, oh my God, what did I just see? Did that just happen? Not because it was this great, amazing scene, because it's the stupidest way to end a movie ever, and you're kind of left going, huh? How the hell did that happen? You really are left with that moment of what the hell happened. And then you start to think about it, goes, wait, what the hell just happened in the previous 2 hours of this film? Not entirely sure. that's what I came away with the film. I was not entirely sure what the heck happened. Two characters, two characters are followed at the very end of the movie, and you get to find out during the credits what became of them, sort of, but you find out nothing about the other cast of characters who are purportedly just as important to the film as these two are. And Daniel Wu's character is kind of just left in limbo, and you're not really sure what his fate is, even though he was the most interesting character in the whole film. You don't get to find out what becomes of his character, what becomes of any of the characters that are supposedly the good guys. And even the bad guys, you kind of know what their fates were, but you're not entirely sure. And then the aftermath of the film, there's so much destruction, you're kind of left with, okay, so where does everything go from here? And that's what I mean by you're just left with no understanding what it was you just really watched. And then there's no real resolution when you get to the end of it. For you to look back and go, that was worth the 2 hours I took to watch this film. It's a gorgeously shot film. It looks great. The actors actually do a great job. Daniel Wu, if you watch Into the Badlands on AMC, you are very familiar with him. He is great here. He does a fantastic job playing the tortured soul of the security guard who's just trying to figure out what he wants to do with himself. The problem is the movie doesn't know what it wants to do with itself. It doesn't actually know what it really wants to be. And that's the problem. Be an action movie. It has moments where it's like you're waiting for it to go like John Woo over the top. Hell, there's a scene where there's pigeons flying around and there's guns. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, it's going to be just a gunfight that's going to be strategic and stylistic. And the style has just been left behind. Ringo Lam used to have a style, and this style is just so muted and so neutered, for lack of a better word, that it was frustrating to watch. And so, I can't really recommend this movie. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this movie a 3.
胖子，报警！好，是不是要等警察来啊？